Hello, welcome back to JankTech. Oh my god, so I am so excited about the intro. I just made it. I had a lot of fun making it. Obviously, that's me dressed up as sand people. I redid the flying with TIE fighters music, and hopefully a way that's not going to get me in any sort of legal trouble. And yeah, I even made another little thing, which we should hopefully see real soon as my little like and subscribe guy. Ooh. Yeah, also me dressed as Boba Fett. What can I say? Like, you get a paper bag and some paint and you just start going nuts. Anyway, this video is about, I think, the last hurrah, the last final swarm of droids before JTL. So what do I mean by that? This is another 80 card deck tech that I want to do, focused around two of my favorite leaders from the first three sets that I don't really think got their due. I think this is an incredibly fun deck to play. I've gotten to play it a couple times. Basically, as the name suggests, we are just making tons and tons and tons of droids. So before I get started with this, I just wanted to say, please check out the PDX SWU Discord. I'll have a link down below. We're going to be talking a lot about jump to Lightspeed because that is right around the corner. I'm recording this around the time of Gamma when they're spoiling all kinds of stuff, and the hype is just like through the roof right now. So I felt like it'd be fun to do one last deck before we start putting new cards and everything, because I don't really want to start putting new cards in my decks until I actually pull them and know what I'm going to have. So now that that's out of the way, what is this Swarm of Droids deck all about? Well, let's take a look at our leaders. We got IG-88 as an action. Exhaust him, attack with a unit. If you control more units than the defending player, the attacker gets +1/+0 for the attack. So if we're making a lot of guys, we should hopefully be able to use this ability pretty regularly. When you deploy IG at 5, well, he's notorious for dying as soon as he flips because he's got 4 health, and that's easy to take down with, well, take down. I think in Twin Suns, he has more of a chance at staying alive. We will hope that happens because we want everything else to get raid 1. We get a huge swarm of droids out there. We give them all raid 1. That's a lot of damage. Oh, all right. Okay. And then who are we running with him? We've got Grievous. Grievous says, action, exhaust him, give a droid unit sentinel for this phase. And then we can flip Grievous on 6 resources. On attack, you may give a droid +1/+0 and sentinel for this phase. So basically with this deck, we're going to be trying to make a sentinel, if we don't already have one, with Grievous's ability in order to focus the attention on that unit and hopefully keep enough of our units alive that we can consistently attack for more with IG-88. So is that going to work? Well, we will see. Let me close these two here. We're going to be using the Droid Manufactory because, of course, we're using the Droid Manufactory. Oh my gosh. When you deploy a leader, create 2 battle droid tokens. That's just free droids for the droid grinder here. Oh my gosh. So is this going to work? Let's check out what's in this deck. I don't have any sort of budget stuff after this one. If anyone is interested in a budget version of this deck, please let me know in the comments down there. Or if I put anything weird in here or you're like, I think this is better, let's have a discussion. Let's talk about it. I will, as you may have seen with the tab that I was briefly on, I will talk about a few jump to Lightspeed cards I want to put in this, but for the most part, I'm just thinking about what's in Twilight, what's in Shadows, what's in Spark. Let's use those in this deck. All right, let's get it going. We got 35 ground units. There's a lot of little weenie guys we can already see over here. We've got Obedient Vanguard. It's a droid. I put in basically as many droids as I could find. It's a 1/1 with raid 1. When defeated, you may give a trooper unit +2/+2 for this phase. Well, we're going to be making a lot of droid trooper tokens. Those battle droid tokens from our base, those are troopers too. The battle droid tokens we're going to be making from other things, also troopers. So hopefully this guy's ability is going to pump something else up pretty good. Admiral Mahdi, he's not a droid, but he's got his great when defeated ability because there are a few exploit cards in this deck. Mahdi works great with exploit, but honestly, as you can see here, we've got tons and tons and tons of villain units in this deck. So Mahdi is just going to be great with that. B1 security team, it's a droid. It's a 3-1 sentinel. No one's going to want to swing into this. You put this out, someone else doesn't have a sentinel, they're not going after the B1 security team. We got the Oom. The Oom! Oh, I love the Oom. It's a 2-1. When defeated, deal 2 damage to a base. You make this into a sentinel with Grievous. Again, nobody wants to attack it because you'll just be like, hey, if you hit this, that damage is going right at your base, buddy. Poggle. Of course, Poggle's got to be in here. When you play another unit, you may exhaust this unit. If you do, create a battle droid token. Guaranteed Poggle is going to get killed as soon as he hits the board because no one is going to want another thing to let this deck make tokens. But if you can get Poggle out turn 1 this deck and no one says anything about it, you are looking at so many droids for free this game. Oh my goodness. Because Poggle gives you what you want for doing what you were already going to do. And we love that. We love lots of droids here. Separatist Commando, Separatist Droid Trooper. So it gets the buff from Obedient Vanguard. It's a droid. It can become a sentinel. It's got a 3 health butt. Number 1 mention of butts this video. What am I, 2 minutes in? And it can have raid 2 potentially. We're going to have a lot of Separatists. There's a lot of Separatists in this deck. Viper Pro Droid. Bleep, 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 bleep. When played, look at an opponent's hand. Also, it swings for a lot. Like a 3-2 for 2 with an ability that provides you some fodder for negotiation later. That ain't nothing. If you make this a sentinel, no one's going to want to swing into it because 3 is a lot to kill a lot of things. B1 attack platform. Oh my gosh, what a chonkus. Look at this. It hits for 5. If we can get another unit to be a sentinel, lock it down so we can attack with this, that's a lot of damage, especially if we can use IG-88's ability to swing for an additional 1. So good, so good. Battle Droid Escort. This thing is like your droid token making machine. You get a droid when it comes out and you get a droid when it dies. Making this guy like the perfect fodder for Grievous to give Sentinel to. I know it was like a combo in the Grievous starter deck. This is a Grievous starter deck card. But that doesn't make it bad just because it was in the starter deck. I think this card is mostly not good in a lot of decks, but in a Twin Suns deck with a droid focus like this one, I think it's worth it. I've hesitated on putting it in Premier decks because it doesn't feel like it does enough on turn 2 when there's so many decks that can do a lot. But this is Twin Suns, baby. We don't care about that. This is JankTech, the fun non-Premier channel. So we're going to run our Battle Droid Escort, and we're going to feel good about it because it enables this deck to do the things that it wants to do. Droid Commando, while you control another Separatist unit, again, our droid tokens are going to be Separatists. This unit gains Ambush. Bam, a 4/3 with Ambush. That kills so many things. Problems deleted. This is essentially removal. Oh, Hu Yang. Oh my gosh, you knew Hu Yang was going in here. So Hu Yang is a 2/4 Jedi droid. So we can make it into a Sentinel with Grievous if we have to. When it ETBs, choose another friendly unit. While this unit is in play, the chosen unit gets +2/+2. This is one way that we get IG-88 to be more survivable on his deploy turn as we save Hu Yang to resource 5. Flip IG, hope he doesn't die, and then bring out Hu Yang. IG is then a 7/6. Whoa. Phase 3 Dark Trooper. Love the Phase 3 Dark Trooper. It's one of our true Sentinels, a Sentinel that's not given its ability by Grievous. And when combat damage is dealt to it, give an experience token to it if it survives. So the Phase 3 is great. It's a droid. It's a Sentinel. It's going to soak up some damage, and it gets stronger if it doesn't die. Fantastic. I mean, everybody wants to kill this as soon as it comes out because it can get big and gross, but, if we can get a few swings in there with it, heck yeah. Super Battle Droid. Not the most exciting one, but it is a 4/3 droid. We can make something else, a Sentinel, to divert attention away from the Super Battle Droid and hit for 4, maybe 5 if we're able to continuously use IG's ability. And IG only cares about more units than the defending player. So we just pick on whoever doesn't have that much stuff. It'll be fine and it totally won't backfire on us. 4 LOM. I mean, 4 LOM, I feel like, has been a staple since he came out with his BFF Zuckuss, who is not in this deck. We don't care about Zuckuss because Zuckuss is not a droid. So we're only using 4LOM as a droid with ambush, essentially. And he's a little bit more survivable than the droid commando, and he always has ambush no matter what. So we like 4LOM. He gets rid of problems. And if he survives, great. We can make him a sentinel and he can kill something else. Asajj. Okay, Asajj is not a droid, obviously. She is a separatist, which matters for some things here. And she's got her cool exploit 2, so we can potentially play her for free if we exploit 2 units. And the cool thing about Ventress in this deck is that if our droids manage to stay alive after doing their duty as sentinels, soaking up some damage, then we can just kill them for Ventress and get her out essentially for free. And since enough of our things are separatists, it's likely that she's going to be hitting for 5, maybe even 6 with IG, because her ability is a non-attack ability. So we can use IG to make her attack. And if we have enough units, give her +1. I think she's pretty good with this. Dwarf Spider Droid. Oh yeah, you stick Sentinel on this and it's going to get real big, real fast. No one is going to want to mess with it. Love grit. I wish more droids had grit, but what are you going to do? The General's Guardian. This is another one of those Grievous pre-con starter deck strats where obviously they included this in the starter deck because they want you to use Grievous to turn this into a sentinel so it can get attacked for you to make a battle droid. And that's what this is in here for too. We want as many battle droids as possible. And people are either going to swing into our 4/4 when it's a sentinel, or they're just going to ignore us. And I think either way is great, because then that means more living units on the board. A 4/4 is nothing to sneeze at. And this is a great unit to continuously use Grievous's ability on turn after turn to continue to make a sentinel, because nobody wants to give somebody else a token for free. Infiltrating Demolisher. This guy's great. You can get it out with 2 resources if you have a chump out to exploit, and it's got Saboteur. And I feel like I say this again and again with Twin Suns. Sentinels and Saboteurs can make or break your game. Having a Sentinel at the right time to disincentivize someone to attack you, or being able to attack someone regardless of their Sentinel. Infiltrating Demolisher gets you that. It gets you that for very little. It lets you use something that was going to die and turn it into something good like this. I think this guy's awesome. This card was great. Even as far back as the pre-release for Twilight, I hope that we can continue to find reasons to run it in future decks. Just great. Relentless Rocket Droid. It's a 3/5, but if you have another trooper unit, it gets +2/+0. Well, we have a lot of troopers in this deck. Pretty much all the separatist droids, definitely all of the droid tokens. So there's a lot of ways to make this a 5/5 for 4, which is pretty good. Rush Clovis. Okay, not a droid, but 3/5 with raid 2. So he's got a big butt, potentially swings for 5. And on attack, if the defending player controls no ready resources, create a battle droid token. So again, we're picking on the same player here. We're just like, whoever has less people than me, that's the one I want to go after. Whoever has no resources, that's the one I have to go after. So this is like a prey on the weak deck, I guess. Does this make me a bad person? Anyway, Rush is great. He's one of those rares I feel like I pulled a decent amount of, and I want to use him because I never saw anybody run this in Premiere, and like I think this is a cool card and it deserves to get used. Okay, B2 Legionnaires is a 5/4 with Sentinel and Overwhelm. And what can you say? It's like, it's another one of those droids that is just big and menacing and kills whatever runs into it. Its butt isn't that big for a 5 cost, but again, it's a powerful incentive to not swing into my side, because whoever is going to swing into my side doesn't want to lose their thing. Okay, so we're going to start to see a sub-theme of this deck. So we can see that this deck has got droids, troopers, a little bit of separatist stuff, and exploit. A lot of the removal in this deck is capture-based, and that's because we're not running blue, and blue is kind of the best color for just like removal. So we've got a few things that are capturing, and I think that's really fun with this deck because as I've learned in Twin Suns, the more that I play this format, capture is a super effective removal. In Premiere, I think capture is a little more transient, and you can't really count on the units that you capture being gone for enough time in order to feel like you made an impact. I think in Twin Suns, capture is totally game changing and totally shifts the balance of power. So you're going to see more stuff with capture on it as we go through this list, starting with the Discerning Veteran. When played, this unit captures an enemy non-leader ground unit. What this does is it not only puts another body on the field, remove something else. But remember, every unit we remove from someone else means we are that much closer to having the advantage in order to proc IG's ability in order to swing for a +1/+0 if we have more units than somebody else. So capture does a great job at getting rid of stuff for not as many resources generally as blue removal. So you're going to see more of that kind of stuff, especially here. We got Ephant Mon. Ephant Mon. Another one of those cards that I had high hopes for before Shadows came out and nobody really cared about. Poor Ephant Mon, except for me, because I read tables from Jabba's Palace many times growing up, and I thought Ephant Mon was a cool character that seemed like he had a heart of gold, even though he was Jabba's best friend. So on attack, choose an enemy non-leader unit that attacked your base this phase. A friendly unit in the same arena captures that unit. So Ephant Mon is, again, a way of disincentivizing people to attack you. You get this guy out. 4/6, big butt. Big butt, he's got a big butt. Ephant Mon is going to be able to capture guys. And if you continue to lock your side down with your Sentinels, because you're using Grievous' ability every turn, that means Ephant Mon can say, okay, if you got through, if somebody with a stupid Saboteur was able to swing at my base, nope, you're mine. I gotcha. I'll be interested to see how good he does with repeated plays, but I like Ephant Mon in this deck. I think he supplements our droid army nicely. IG-11, okay, like I had to put an IG unit in here. I know that we're gonna get an IG-88 unit as a pilot in the next set, but for now, we got IG-11. Obviously, he's capture proof and essentially like not quite a board wipe, but he does a lot of damage. And in Twin Suns, if somebody tries capturing IG, everybody suffers. It's awesome. And then, of course, on attack, you may deal 3 damage to a damaged ground unit. This is really cool considering how much stuff is likely to have damage on it when you're playing with 3 other people. So I think IG's a real solid include. Obviously, he's a droid. He's a bounty hunter. There's a few bounty hunters in this too. There's a couple cards that care about that. And I think those come in real clutch when they need to come in clutch. And also doing 6 damage, potentially 7, is pretty good for a 5 cost. That's an uncommon. Kraken. This is another one of those starter deck combos. He's a 2/5. When played, create 2 battle droid tokens. On attack, give each friendly token unit +1/+1 for this phase. Oh my gosh. If I didn't want the droid manufactory so bad in this deck, I would try running ECL. Mostly for Kraken. I mean, he's basically like Shock T for bad guys. He's especially good in this deck because he's a droid with a big butt. We can make him into a Sentinel. If we play Kraken on the turn when he would normally come out at 5 resources, we get 2 battle droids. We flip IG, we get 2 more battle droids. All those droids are going to have raid 1 if IG stays alive for another turn. That's like 8 damage in just droid tokens. It's awesome. But, you know, Kraken just has to live. IG just has to live. But that's why we've got Grievous to make things Sentinel, to funnel the damage where we want it funneled. Tactical Droid Commander. It's a 4/4 with Exploit 2. When you play another Separatist unit, you may exhaust a unit that costs the same as or less than the played unit. So this one is cool because we do have a decent amount of Separatists in here. It helps lock down the board. It's a droid, so if we really have to make it a Sentinel, we can. I think the Tactical Droid Commander is an interesting include in here. It gives you some good options for reducing threat to yourself on the board because it only cares about cost. It doesn't care about power. It doesn't care about health. So, like, it's another option for being able to get rid of something, at least for a turn, and take advantage of tempo. Kalani. Okay, Kalani, 6 cost. So you need a turn at a critical moment in the game to take advantage of Kalani, but it's a 5/7. On attack, you may choose another unit. If you have the initiative, you may choose up to 2 other units instead. Give each chosen unit +2/+2 for this phase. If we can somehow get Kalani out earlier, there might be a trick or two for doing that in this deck. Then he's such a powerhouse in this deck. Because of the way Twinsuns has been working and the speed at which games have gone up until this point, units like this are less impactful. I really think that as we progress into this new era of Twinsuns with 80 card decks, I think we're going to see stuff like Kalani become a lot more useful, a lot more impactful, because games are going to last longer. Decks aren't going to be as finely tuned as they were with 30 fewer cards in them. And if you can give 1 or 2 of your units +2/+2, give them Sentinel with Grievous, it's just an impenetrable wall that only the most foolhardy saboteurs will attempt to go through. Okay, Aussie Sobek, exploit 3. When played, this unit captures an enemy non-leader ground unit with cost equal to or less than the number of resources paid to play this unit. So basically, the less we exploit, the bigger of a unit we can capture with this guy. And it gives you some flexibility, like, okay, I can get out this 3/6 earlier on. Maybe I want to get him for sacking 2 guys and paying 2 resources and capturing a 2-cost unit. I think that Aussie honestly could continue to be good through jump to Lightspeed, because there's going to be more Voltroning up guys with pilots. So as long as there's no leader pilot to worry about on something, if someone is trying to put a pilot on a 2-cost ship, then you can lock it down for pretty cheap with this guy, as long as you have the ability to exploit your droids. Okay, of course we're putting Cad Bane in here. Cad Bane is like a staple of villain yellow at this point. It's unfortunate he's so expensive, but like, he's just so good. 7/7, when played, captures up to 3 enemy non-leader units with a total of 8 or less remaining HP. That can be anyone's stuff as long as it's not yours. So, like, as soon as Cad Bane comes out, everyone's immediately going to be like, oh, geez, it's Cad Bane, because their units are all potentially at risk. On attack, the defending player may rescue a card they own guarded by this unit. If they do, draw 2 cards. It's hard to lose with this. You can attack someone whose stuff you didn't capture, and you don't have to worry about them rescuing one of their things. You don't get to draw cards, but, like, you're still hitting someone for 7. So I think Cad Bane in Twinsuns even more interesting than he is normally. Dryden. Okay. This is another one of those legendaries that I think dropped to like $1 for a while. I'm not sure what he even costs at this point. Dryden, 7 cost. He's a 5/7 with shielded. When played, choose a captured card guarded by a unit you control. You may play it for free under your control. As we've seen, there's a decent amount of guys that are capturing things in this deck. And I think Dryden's ability to just take one of them and get it is extremely cool. And being that he's more of a late game card, there is a chance that we could actually capture something pretty good and then just take it with Dryden. Love it. I think he is a really fun card to play in Twinsuns that potentially has a lot of impact. But if nothing else, it's good for generating discord around the table and just being like, I just got your unit. What do you think about that? I'm playing Dryden. Heavy Persuader tank. This big old droid tank. You can exploit it out. And when played, you may deal 2 damage to a ground unit. So exploit 2 means you can get this out for as little as 3 resources and deal 2 damage to a ground unit when it comes out. I think that's pretty good if you've got the droids to make it happen. This deck is pretty good at generating droids. They're obviously not an infinite resource, but if you can get a big old chonkus like this out on the board fairly early, then there's going to be a lot of impact with it. Try Droid Suppressor. It's a 4/7 with exploit 2, so you could get it out for as little as 3 resources. When played, exhaust an enemy ground unit. I think this is a decent one to play kind of at any point in the game. It's a droid. It still could be made a sentinel with Grievous. It, it has a big butt, so it can take a lot of damage if you need it to. And just getting that tempo shift when it comes out to just say that's exhausted. It just says enemy ground unit. You can exhaust a leader with this if you absolutely have to. Like if somebody plays Sabine, puts a dark saber on her, you're just like, no, no, that's exhausted. I'm playing the Tri-Droid Suppressor. Mactoid Spider Droid. 8 cost, 5/6 with exploit 2, so you can bring it out for as little as 4. And ambush. This thing is good at ambushing into stuff and generally living afterwards, which again, you can turn into a sentinel. With Grievous, you can kill more things that come into you, and hopefully you can live to swing with it on a subsequent turn, which would be pretty cool. I really like the Bactoid. I think it's one of those people aren't necessarily expecting it kind of units, and it's really good at taking out like mid-game level threats at less risk to you, because hopefully you'll have the droids to sacrifice to pay for it. And speaking of exploiting things, Count Dooku, oh my gosh. So Count Dooku, he's an 8 cost, Force Separatist Sith, 6/6, exploit 2, so you can get him out for 4 resources if you have to. He's got overwhelm. When played, I think this part is so cool. For each unit you exploited while playing this card, you may deal damage to an enemy unit equal to the power of the exploited unit. This generally is going to be just pinging 1 or 2. It's not going to be a whole lot, but if you exploit the right things out, you can potentially kill some pretty big things with Dooku when he enters play, and it's just a good card to kind of have ready in case you need him to get rid of some sort of a threat. And then Battle Droid Legion. Hold on one second. Okay, Battle Droid Legion. It's a 6/5 Separatist Droid Trooper with exploit 2, so you can get out as little as 5 resources. When defeated, create 3 Battle Droid tokens. Yes, this is a card that, again, isn't really a premier format card. I think this is a Twin Suns card. You make this a Sentinel with Grievous. It can hit back for 6. It's not something people are going to want to swing into. If you get this out with exploit, it can come out on a leader flip turn. It can come out on the 5 resource turn. And if you turn it into a Sentinel, then 6 kills a lot of stuff. It kills a lot of leaders around the 5 mark. And then it makes even more Battle Droid tokens. It's just such a fun card for this deck, for the abilities that we have here. And I know I've been talking about Grievous a whole lot, but remember, every droid token that we can get, every unit that we can take out, if IG can stay alive long enough to give everything raid 1, it's just so much damage. Every one of these droids, if they can stay alive, so much damage. Okay, let's talk about space. We got 18 space units. Again, a bunch of cheapies and a few more expensive ones. We're going for, well, quantity in this deck. It's a Droid Starfighter. It's a 1/2 with Saboteur, which can be awesome, not only just as a 1 cost in space, but once we can start swarming the board, IG can hit harder, can make this hit for an extra 1. I think that's going to add up over time. The Solist one, customized for Grievous. Of course, this is going to be in here. It's Grievous's freaking ship, man. So 1/2 on attack, you may exhaust a friendly droid unit or Grievous, leader or unit. I think it's going to be interesting seeing these cards going forward where we just have the parentheses to remind us that it's just basically anything like leader, unit, upgrade, blah, blah, blah. But if we do exhaust Grievous or a droid, this gets +2/+0 for this attack. Well, we're going to have a lot of droids. Maybe we have a ready battle droid token that we've already turned into a Sentinel with Grievous. Well, the thing is probably going to die. We may as well just exhaust it to give this +2/+0. So you're still ahead a little bit. And the cool thing about this being an on-attack ability, the cool thing about this being an on-attack ability is that you can still use IG's ability to make this attack. So if you have more units than the defending person, and you have a droid that you can exhaust, then you can actually swing with this for 4 on turn 2. think that's pretty awesome. Confederate Courier, of course, this is in here. It's a 2/1 in space. When defeated, create a battle droid token. It's not a droid itself, but it's good for crashing into things, especially the lurking TIE Phantom. Oh my gosh. Anything that can kill the lurking TIE Phantom is A-okay in my book. Outer Rim Headhunter. It's a 1/3 with raid 1 on attack. If you control a leader unit, you may exhaust a non-leader unit. IG comes out at 5. I like the Outer Rim Headhunter because it gives you some potential early mid-game exhaustion, And since we already have IG out pretty soon, that means that we've got a pretty good amount of options for things that we can exhaust with it. And plus, having the raid 1 means we can potentially hit for 3 with it, with IG's ability, if we have more units than the defending person. Outland TIE Vanguard. Love this one. So when played, you may give an experience token to another unit that costs 3 or less. That is a large amount of our units. Like, stick this on even a droid token. Nobody's going to want to mess with that droid token. It's basically a clone trooper. And after it comes into play, I kind of think it's not completely expendable, but it's not something you're going to feel bad about exploiting to get something bigger out. Vanguard Droid Bomber. When played, if you control another Separatist unit, deal 2 damage to an enemy base, and it's a droid, so you can make it a Sentinel if you need to lock space down a little bit. And again, this is one that has a good when played effect, but is kind of otherwise like meh. So you don't need to feel that bad about exploiting it to get Ventress or Dooku out later. Black Sun Starfighter. Not a droid, but it's good to have just another Sentinel already. Like, you don't have to do anything else to it. A 3/2 is enough to take care of a lot of early game threats. Obviously, this thing is real fragile, but if it even blocks one giant turn or makes somebody go after someone else, then I think it's done its job. Confederate Tri-Fighter. I think this is a situational one. If nothing else, it's a 3/3 for 3 in space, which is a decent enough stat line. But with the bases can't be healed ability, this shuts a lot of leaders down, like Iden, like anyone with Restore, like Senator Palpatine in the Palpatine Sidious combo. It's a real pain to deal with, and I really like that it's such a pain to deal with. I think this is another one of those, when you need it, nothing else will do like this, and it will immediately become a target for people that are running those sorts of decks. The Elite P-38 Starfighter. When played or when defeated, you may deal 1 damage to a unit. It is a Separatist, so that helps with some things. It's not a droid, but it kind of helps spread a little damage out, and it's good for exploiting if you really need to get something out. Well, great. You kill this, and it also does damage to something. Okay, yeah, I just finished talking trash about this, but yeah, the lurking TIE Phantom is in here. I mean, come on. It's hard to kill, and it does 4 damage, and it comes out on turn 2. I think it's still good, even if it doesn't necessarily interact with all of our leader stuff. I like that, well, if we have more units out because of IG, like, you can still hit for 5 with this, which is, it's not nothing. Magna Guard Wing Leader. So this one is cool, and it's another one of those Grievous starter deck. They want you to do this with Grievous tricks. Action, attack with a droid unit, then attack with another droid unit. Use this ability only once per round. Cool things about this, you don't have to exhaust it. You can just play this, and then if you have 2 droids, on the next time you can do an action, you're just like, I'm using the Magna Guard's ability to attack with 2 droids. Unfortunately, you can't use IG's ability with that, but if you have the Magna Guard Wing Leader when IG is deployed, it's really useful because our droids will all have, our everything will have raid 1, and that's an extra 2 damage right off the top that you're sneaking out because you can attack with 2 things at once and get that action economy. Okay, Sanctioner's Shuttle. I love this card. So it is a coordinate ability. Coordinate is not that much of a problem with this deck. We're going to have a swarm. We're having a swarm of droids here. And Coordinate when played, this unit captures an enemy non-leader unit that costs 3 or less. So it helps get rid of some early game stuff. The interesting thing about 3 or less, because when they spoiled the Cassian pilot unit that also had an ability that cared about card cost being 3 or less, my initial thought was like, it doesn't seem that good. And then I realized that's most of the cards in people's decks. Like, I don't know what the exact percentage is. 2/3, 3/4. Like, most of the cards we put in decks, most of the cards that we play are 3 or less, or at least definitely more than half, probably closer to 2/3. Like, being able to shut down that much stuff is awesome. And the fact that we have, I don't know, even Dryden, if we really get desperate, can say, oh, I'm just going to take that. I think it's awesome. Just being able to get rid of one problem unit can be so huge in this game. And the fact that you get a space unit and a removal at the same time, I think is really good. And again, what I've been saying the rest of this video is that anytime we can reduce the number of units that somebody has, it makes it more likely we can use IG's ability to do an extra point of damage. Strafing Gunship. 3/4. This unit can attack units in the ground arena. While this unit is attacking a ground unit, the defender gets -2, -0. So this is meant to kind of mop up after our droids have softened things up. Maybe we've had a droid sentinel, a battle droid token, and we just want the strafing gunship to go in there and just get rid of things. I mean, we can swing to base, but I think the strafing gunship is better if you just use it as targeted removal and just saying, okay, what needs to die? What's relatively low power? I mean, I think the strafing gunship gives you some flexibility in terms of how you want to use your ground units, and it can really save your butt because, again, it's a 4 health. It's not the biggest butt in the world, but it's not a slouch in the butt department. It's not a slouch in the butt department either. Oh my gosh. All right, Subjugating Starfighter. It's a 3/3 with ambush for 4, which is okay. But when played, if you have the initiative, create a battle droid token. We're not always going to have the initiative in with this deck, but it is nice to take advantage of it when we can get it. And certainly anything that does removal and battle droids is great. I feel like since I started thinking of ambush units as removal cards, it made me feel better about including them more in decks. And this one is good for getting rid of stuff in space. And let's say somebody else was a total jerk and played one of these the previous round. Well, maybe you took the initiative just to get the Subjugating Starfighter into play, crash it into the TIE Phantom, it lives, and you get a battle droid. So I feel like that's a pretty effective use of it. The Geonosis Patrol Fighter. So it has exploit 2. It's a 3/2. When played, you may return a non-leader unit that costs 3 or less to its owner's hand. So again, we've got that tempo sort of removal with this. We've got the exploit that we use our battle droids for to get this out early on. We can get this out for as little as 1 resource if we really, really need it. And we really, we have more droids than we know what to do with. If we have that, then yeah, play it at 1 resource. I think Geonosis is awesome. It's one of my favorite arts from the set too, so it makes me want to include it more. But I think it's good at just getting rid of things that are a problem. If you see someone, I don't know, stick a lightsaber on their tech, then Geonosis takes care of that for you. Lightsaber gone, tech back in hand. They're not going to be able to swing with it this turn. Having the exploit gives you the flexibility if you really need it to play it early if you have to. Ruthless Raider. Love the Ruthless Raider. It's a 4/6. When played or when defeated, deal 2 damage to an enemy base and 2 damage to an enemy unit. What can I say? You know it. You love it. We're going to put Ruthless Raider in this deck. It's such a good towards the end of the game kind of ship. Having that extra little bit of damage is great. And if you really need to seal the deal, you could always exploit it. You could always use it in an exploit cost for something else. So in theory, you could play the Ruthless Raider And on the same turn, if you had enough droids, which on 6 resources, you can have at least 2 because you can deploy Grievous and use the droid manufactory to get the 2 droid tokens. Then you play Squadron of Vultures after you play Ruthless Raider, exploiting droid, Ruthless Raider, deal another 2 damage to a unit, another 2 damage to a base because of the Ruthless Raider being defeated. Is it like the greatest move? Well, no, but it's a fun, like janky way of sneaking a little bit of extra damage in. And sometimes that's all you really need. And let's not forget, this is a villain card. And if we remember this like half an hour ago, if we have Mahdi out and we use Mahdi as part of that exploit, we can just attack with it. Like there's a lot of potential good stuff that we can do with these exploit units later on in the game. And also, it's a droid. It's a droid that we can potentially get out for free if we have the exploit fodder. So we can make that a sentinel in space with Grievous if we absolutely have to, if somebody's got some other cute unit that they're trying to sneak in. All right, and then we've got the Invisible Hand. Separatist vehicle capital ship. When played, create 4 battle droid tokens. It's a 4/7 on attack. Exhaust any number of friendly Separatist units. Again, we're going to have droid tokens out the wazoo. That's where they come from. Deal 1 damage to the defending player's base for each unit exhausted this way. Again, this is a starter deck card, but I think the starter deck cards a lot of the time find a new life in Twin Suns deck. I think this is a great late game card here. Obviously, we get a lot of battle droids, and if we can get the attack with it, being able to exhaust Separatists to deal direct base damage is awesome. Especially because we can use Grievous to make something a sentinel, to draw the fire from our other ones, and then we can exhaust it anyway because it's likely to die. And we'll see later on in here that there's a little bit of sneaky business that we can do to hopefully get this out early. Okay, we got some events. So what do we got? We got Altering the Deal. Those cards that we were capturing. Sometimes you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have captured something with my 1/1 battle droid token. Then we alter the deal and pray we don't alter it further. Discard that captured card guarded by a friendly unit. This is also good with Cad Bane later on. It's good with the discerning veteran. I think this is a fun card to have in this deck because there's a bunch of capture in here. Political Pressure. Ugh, you can't lose with Political Pressure in this deck. Choose an opponent. They may discard a random card from their hand if they don't create 2 battle droid tokens. So they get rid of something that they need, or you get droids. Either way, it's great. And this is probably my favorite artwork from Twilight. Again, it's Idor Prieto, who I think has become my favorite artist in this game. I love this card so much. Wartime Profiteering. We're going to have turns where maybe we exploit the heck out of our units. We're going to have turns where, God forbid, somebody plays plays a board wipe and kills all of our droids. At least with Wartime Profiteering, we can get a ton of cycling through our deck. So what does this do? Look at cards from the top of your deck equal to the number of units that were defeated this phase. Draw 1 and put the others on the bottom of your deck in a random order. I think this is, in general, a great Twin Suns card, but especially in this deck, if we have swarms of low health units, this is a great way of taking advantage of the turns when something or a lot of things die. Then, well, we can dig through 3 or 4 or 5 or even more cards. Who knows? The only thing that's tough with this is, I think, keeping track surreptitiously of the amount of things that have died so you can be sure that you're drawing the right number of cards. Because I think that if someone sees you counting to yourself or flipping a die over on the table, they're going to be like, what are you doing? There's only one card that cares about this right now. Breaking In. Attack with a unit, gets +2/+0, and gains Saboteur for this attack. Bypasses other people's sentinels, gets buffed. I think it's really good. Sneak in some extra damage. And if IG has been deployed, get an extra +1/+0 for the raid. I love Breaking In. I think Breaking In is an excellent card. Droid Deployment. Create some droids. More droids, more better in this deck. The more droids, just the better we feel about everything. Private manufacturing. Draw 2 cards. If you control no token units, put 2 cards from your hand on the bottom of your deck in any order. It is highly unlikely we will be controlling no token units when this card is played. This card is made for decks like this, where it's just like, we hope to instill this sort of vibe at the table of just droid, 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 droid. This is what we want the board to look like. Nothing but droids. You know, except in this instance. With self-destruct, defeat a friendly unit. If you do, deal 4 damage to a unit. Maybe there's something that we just absolutely can't get rid of, or something that's a huge problem. Maybe an opponent has a saboteur that we can't deal with. Maybe someone else has a sentinel that we just can't seem to get through. Self-destruct, we just get rid of one of our chump little battle droids and use that to deal 4 damage to something. It doesn't care about the arena. It doesn't care if it's a leader or not. It's just, boom, 2 cost, 4 damage, whatever you want. I really like that in this deck. I do feel bad for the Wookiee, because y'all know how I feel about Wookiees. Generally positive. The Emperor's Legion. This is a card I want to work so bad. Return each unit in your discard pile that was defeated this phase to your hand. Obviously, this doesn't work with tokens. That's okay. But if we use something like we exploit Mahdi to get Dooku out, well, then we can play Emperor's Legion with the resources we saved to get Mahdi back and play him again. Is it the best? I don't know. I'm still trying to find a home for this card. It could be in this deck. I need to do some more testing. I think this is going to be really cool with Jump to Lightspeed once we start getting pilots, because if I'm interpreting this right, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I think this could work for units that were upgrades too, because it would be a unit in your discard pile. If it was attached to something that got defeated, well, then it was defeated this phase. So maybe you can get back pilots with this once we start sticking those in. We'll see. I Am Your Father. This card's great. I think as a Twin Suns card, it's great. Deal 7 damage to an enemy unit, and since controller says no, if they do, draw 3 cards. So I think that this is one of those interesting cards that causes someone to have to think about stuff. The more you make people think about what they're doing, the greater chance there is that they will mess up. Much like political pressure, I think giving somebody an option is just incredibly good for you in this game. And so it's like, either way, we deal 7 damage to something that we really needed to die, or we get to draw cards. Drawing cards is awesome when you have an 80 card deck and you're just trying to find something to help you get ahead. Merciless Contest. We have a swarm of droids. We don't care about Merciless Contest. Each player chooses a non-leader unit they control, defeat those units. Yeah, droid token, gone. Everyone else, get rid of something good. That's the hope anyway. Moment of Glory, give a unit +4/+4 for this phase. One of the people on the swupdx Discord got me thinking about this card, and I think this is the deck for it, because we are definitely going to give a chump blocker +4/+4 for the phase. So we're looking at a 5/5 droid trooper, and that's at the lowest possible end of the power curve in this deck. Like, we give IG-88 +4/+4. He's going to be hitting for 9 damage. I think that's pretty awesome. We have to trust that since this is Twin Suns, we're going to have 3 other people taking a turn after everyone's like, oh, that's a big droid. So we hope it survives, but I still think it's a real fun card to include in here. And I think it can have a lot of impact with all of our droids. Now there are 2 of them. Oh my gosh. So if you control exactly 1 unit, play a non-vehicle unit from your hand that shares a trait with the unit you control. It costs 5 less. So you're essentially getting something at a discount of 2. This can get Kalani out early. It can get, who else do we want to get out early? It can get Kraken out early. It can get IG-11 out early. We have so many droids There are a few cards that are also underworld. There's cards that are separatist. We've got a lot of things that share traits. Well, okay, we couldn't get this out because it's also a vehicle. But there's enough things that share traits in this deck that we can get some stuff out potentially super early. And the cool thing about the way now there are 2 of them is worded, it means that we can get something out that has exploit for that additional cost reduction. So, I mean, it doesn't matter that much, I suppose, but let's see. Let's do the math here. So Dooku is an 8 cost with exploit 2. If you had a 1 cost separatist, you played, now there are 2 of them on turn 2, spent 3 resources. We can play Dooku at 5 less. Okay, so the most, okay, I did the math. So we would still need 4 resources. So maybe it's not the best with exploit. Okay, I had to talk my way through it. But I still think it's cool. I still think it's cool being able to get like a cool droid like this out early and really turn the tide. Obviously now there are 2 of them. It's not the most useful card all the time, especially in this deck. But if somebody automatically is just like, okay, remove. Well, you know, if we're down to 1 unit and we have now there are 2 of them and like a big old chonkus in our hand, then this could go a long way in terms of putting us back where we need to go in order to be successful at this deck. Love it. Love this card. Relentless Pursuit. Anytime I've got IG and Cunning, always got to put Relentless Pursuit in your deck. Choose a friendly unit. It captures an enemy non-leader unit that costs the same as or less than it. If the friendly unit is a bounty hunter, give a shield token to it. I love playing this on IG right after he flips. Not only can he capture something that, unless it was exploited out, will likely have the same or less cost than him, but since he's a bounty hunter, he also gets a shield. We have some other bounty hunters in here too, like IG-11, like the Discerning Veteran, like Cad Bane. So IG is not the only game in town, but it is a guaranteed bounty hunter on turn 4 that we can capture something with and make IG more survivable at the same time. Love Relentless Pursuit. Oh my gosh, always an IG Cunning, IG Yellow, Relentless Pursuit. Reprocess. Choose up to 4 units in your discard pile, put them on the bottom of your deck in a random order, and create that many Battle Droid tokens. Great. We love Battle Droid tokens. I think Reprocess, of course, we're putting Reprocess in here. Stuff's going to die a lot, and being able to turn that into droids, like two thumbs up. Sign me up. We want all the droids we can get. Take Captive. A friendly unit captures an enemy non-leader unit in the same arena. This could mean you capture a friggin' crate dragon with a droid trooper. Take Captive only cares about the arena being the same and that it's a non-leader. I love the flexibility of this card. And I was talking earlier about capturing as effective removal in Twinsuns. Remember, if somebody has something that is really awful and someone else captures it, you're going to have 3 people that want that unit to stay captured, generally speaking. Not just like, oh, I'm playing one-on-one. I want to capture your stuff. You don't want me to capture it. It's like, no, I want to capture this person's stuff. And this person here also wants that unit gone. And this person here wants me to use my resources on capturing something so I don't capture their thing. I think that it's so much more interesting the way this form of removal works. And it provides some good bartering later on when if someone else has captured something of someone else's, you can be like, oh, what would you do for me if I could get that unit back? Because the fact that it's not removed, it's just temporarily gone. And if you can kill that unit in order to get the other unit back for someone else, well, then that gives you a bargaining chip in terms of trying to extract a favor from somebody who might want their captured unit back because their board presence is terrible now. TLDR, capture Twinsuns, great. Triple Dark Raid, yes. Okay, so Triple Dark Raid, I think should be an auto-include in Villain Yellow in a deck that has any amount of vehicles in it. And this one, so not only do we have our space units, which are pretty much all going to be vehicles. And I mean, the invisible hand is, of course, the best, the best thing that we could possibly get with that. But like, you know, the other things they're not exactly slouches either. You know, Ruthless Raider is a great unit to get with there. But we also have some things here that are vehicles. The Tri-Droid Suppressor is a vehicle. The Heavy Persuader Tank is a vehicle. And, yeah, of course, y'all know this is in here. Grievous's Wheel Bike. Grievous's Wheel Bike is a freaking vehicle, dude. You can get Grievous's Wheel Bike out with triple Dark Raid. How cool is that? So I think this is a really good card. Go through your deck, get something. Like, yeah, it's going to be a little bit sad if you didn't get the invisible hand, but there's so many other things that you can get, and maybe you'll get something that's a droid vehicle, and you can make it into a Sentinel with Grievous. It takes damage. You get it back at the end of the phase. You get to replay it again, fresh and ready to go. Heck yeah, triple Dark Raid. On the doorstep, create 3 battle droid tokens and ready them. Boom. This is awesome. We love ready battle droid tokens with this deck. Prisoner of War, a friendly unit, captures an enemy non-leader, non-vehicle unit. If the enemy unit costs less than the friendly unit, create 2 battle droid tokens. So you can capture regardless of arena with some restrictions, but also if you meet other restrictions, then you can get battle droids. Yes, this is great for this deck. Love it. Remnant Reserves. Search the top 5 cards of your deck for up to 3 units, reveal them, and draw them. This is another one of those cards I feel like nobody played when it came out, and I think it's only going to reach its true power in an 80-card Twin Suns deck when we're fishing for stuff. We've got a hand. It's all, oh my gosh, this is an 8 cost. This is a 7 cost. This is an 8 cost. I can't do anything with these cards. Remnant Reserves, we can potentially get 3 useful cards in our hand. Be ready for playing those next turn, maybe even the turn after that. It gives you a lot of options. I think Remnant Reserves is a must in Villain Green Twin Suns. Overwhelming Barrage. Oh yeah, of course, Overwhelming Barrage. If we play this on turn 4, give it to IG. That's 7 damage we can split up, and it makes IG a lot more survivable for the rest of that phase. I feel like this is a phrase that I use a lot, talking about IG, like anything that we can do to make IG more survivable, because he hits hard, and he's got a great ability when he's deployed to make everything else hit harder. It's just keeping him alive because he's so fragile. And playing Overwhelming Barrage, that's a great place to start. Like, I might even be cocky enough after playing Overwhelming Barrage to say, okay, and now he's a Sentinel because of Grievous. It'll probably get IG killed, but who knows? It's still fun to do. Choose sides. Choose a friendly non-leader unit and an enemy non-leader unit. Exchange control of those units. You know what this means. It means I'm getting your Luke Skywalker, and you're getting my battle droid token. It's just chef's kiss. Love this card in Twin Suns. When everyone else is playing their big chonkuses and is getting all high and mighty, like, I got to crate dragon out. I am just eating good and living large. And you're just like, nope, you can have my little chump and I get your crate dragon. It's worth taking the 7 health hit to the base to do that. I love this card in Twin Suns. So great. Planetary Invasion. I'm coming around on this card in a big way. So, Planetary Invasion, Separatist. I think it only matters to Dooku that this is a Separatist, the Dooku leader. It's an exploit 3, so you can play it at 6 resources if you have to. Ready up to 3 units. Each of those units gets +1/+0 and gains overwhelm for this phase. So, what does this mean? It means if we can keep 6 resources ready to go, on the turn that we flip Grievous, we can potentially attack with everything, cross our fingers that we can delay having to use any resources, because hopefully we've got a bunch of ready droids. We can just be like, oh, I'll attack you for a little bit. I'll attack you for a little bit. Everyone else is like, oh, I used all my stuff. I guess I've got to take the initiative. exploit 3 of your droids, pay 6, planetary invasion, ready IG, ready Grievous, ready whatever chump droid that you have left. If IG is miraculously still alive, Grievous is going to be swinging for +2/+0 with overwhelm. So even if somebody has a Sentinel, you might just go through it and deal the last bit of damage you need to do to somebody's base. I think this is a cool card. This is another one that's very situational, but I think in the right situations, which this deck can supply, I think it can be real good. Plus the Timmy in me loves loves playing a card with a friggin' 12 in the corner. I'm just like, ooh, it's a big card. It's good. Okay, we got 5 upgrades. Droid cohort. Attached unit gains when defeated. Create a battle droid token. Of course, we want battle droid tokens. This is another source of battle droid tokens, and it gives the thing that it's on +1/+1. Heck yeah. Hotshot DL44 Blaster. We're running red and yellow in this deck. I think you got to run the Hotshot Blaster. It's one of the few smuggle cards in here, which, again, as I've said over and over, smuggle gives you flexibility. You can play this whenever you want. It's a card that you see it and you're like, resource, don't even have to think about this. This is a resource. Boom. And just being able to hit with something for +2/+0. If IG88 is flipped and somehow survives, you can hit with a non-IG88 unit for +3/+0 because it'll have raid 1 when the Hotshot Blaster gets smuggled in on it. I think it's real cool. Nameless Valor. Attached to a token unit. Attached unit gains overwhelm and +2/+2. So we'll have some 3/3 overwhelm droid token running around, potentially a 4/3 when it attacks because of Grievous's ability. I like Nameless Valor in here. It's cheap and easy. Legal Authority. Ugh, I love Legal Authority so much. Attached to a friendly unit. When played, attached unit captures an enemy non-leader unit with less power than it. So again, this is a card that you can stick on IG88 when he flips. 5 power, I mean, that's pretty good for the 5 resource turn. And then it'll make him into a 5/6, which is a pretty appreciable stat line for a leader. And again, make him more survivable. And I just think that getting the flexibility and saying it can capture regardless of arena, all it cares about is power. This is a great card. It doesn't get the stupid lurking TIE Phantom, but it gets most other things. All right, and then as we already saw, Grievous's Wheel Bike. When playing this upgrade on General Grievous, who is our leader, it costs 2 less to play, so you can play this on Grievous for 2. Attached to non-vehicle unit, attached unit gains overwhelm, +3/+3 with overwhelm. And remember, you can use this with triple dark raid. You could put it on something that's not Grievous if you want, because triple dark raid discounts it to 5 less. So essentially, you can play this for 3 instead of 4 if you get it on with triple dark raid on anything that's not Grievous. And on Grievous, you're like, okay, fine. I will happily pay the 2 to put this back on you when it goes back to my hand. So good with him, just making him absolutely ginormous and difficult to deal with. All right, so that's our deck. What do y'all think about this final swarm of droids before I jump to Lightspeed? Does it look like it'll fall apart? Or does it look like we got plenty of droids? I think it's going to be pretty cool. I'm going to try to play this deck real soon. By the time this video comes out, I'll have gotten to do that. So I can be like, it did so good. Or I could be like, oh no, I got everything killed and I did bad. So before we wrap this up, I was just looking at droids and I was thinking about the kind of stuff that I want to maybe put in this deck once JTL comes out. Of course, the droid missile platform looks like a fun card. Separatist, it's a droid, it's a vehicle. When defeated, deal 3 indirect damage to a player. I love the indirect damage. I think this is going to be real fun. We've got the invisible hand crawling with vultures. So it's a 6/6 separatist vehicle capital ship. When played and when it completes an attack, you may search the top 8 cards of your deck for a droid unit, reveal it, and draw it. If it costs 2 or less, you may play it for free. If we can get this out early on, with triple dark raid. That's going to be extra good. And since it's crawling with vultures, you know we are going to cram this deck full of swarming vulture droids. Oh my god, I cannot wait to remake this deck with swarming vulture droids. It's a 2/2 for 2 in space. It's a separatist, a droid, a vehicle, a fighter. These are traits that we like a lot in this deck. A deck can have up to 15 copies of this card. This unit gets +1/+0 for each other friendly swarming vulture droid. So we get invisible handout. If we can get it out with triple dark raid, that means that we can do this ability twice on the turn where it comes out. And being that you can do triple dark raid on 4 resources to get something out that would cost 6, that means we can have at least 2 swarming vultures out on turn 3 and just continue the assault with all of these guys. I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm so excited about this next set. I'm excited just to play this deck some more, but it's going to be really neat updating it when the new stuff comes out. So yeah, I think that's going to be about it for me. I'm glad that y'all have been following me on this journey. We've gotten a lot of new subscribers in this channel, so thank you so much for the people that have been liking, that have been commenting, that have been subscribing, and hopefully we'll have some cool stuff to talk about when the new set comes out, like decks that I want to make, stuff that I did at the pre-release that worked or didn't work, and all kinds of fun, great, awesome Star Wars stuff. Also, what did y'all think of the intro to the video? I know it's ridiculous, but, you know, I'd like to make some more low-budget Star Wars costumes at some point. So what's next? I don't know. If you've got any suggestions for something that you want to become a stupid Star Wars costume, let me know. And yeah, that's going to wrap it up for me. And until the next video, let's do this again sometime.